Namaskaram. Today we have a very interesting discussion with Ravikant, an IITian from Madras, and Mansi, a doctor, and obviously Himakant, a chartered accountant. So the context of the discussion for both of you is we are working on creating a blueprint and both of you are instrumental part. So do you first of all believe that by putting in some intellectual effort, there is a possibility to help students clear in just one last attempt, which is converting their structured, I would say, multiple scattered attempts into a single structured attempt. Do you fundamentally see a possibility of this as a concept?
Is there anybody who can answer no to that?
Okay, so what
Ask a better question.
no, what makes you think it will work out? Let's say what is the fundamental premise on which you think that it can work out?
First, you have to find out what's going wrong. Why are you failing? Second thing is you have to make sure that you're spending your time well. And then, third is when you test yourself before. You have to be close to the score that you need to get, or ideally above it. So this is, basic stuff, right? So,
Fine. So this is from an idea. Mansi, so that's a concept.
So basically, you need to be persistent enough without distractions. That is very important. We need to have a roadmap to follow to reach where you have to reach. Once you've made so many mistakes, you cannot not have a roadmap. So I think having a roadmap and being persistent is
Can
more
get
important.
this.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of the possibility, both of them believe that this can happen. And from our side, the recognition side, we got a copyright from the government of India. From the result side, one example is like somebody who has failed 12 times also is able to do it. Now, for today, we're looking at a different question here. This blueprint, where does it fit well? Now, this also opens up the discussion IIT versus CA versus medicine, which is a difficult exam to crack, and we'll work on that. So, starting with Dr. Mansi, so what do you think? Which do you think is a difficult exam?
So when you talk about NEET, so getting into medical is difficult, but getting out of medical is easier because you pass out eventually. But getting into CA is easy. But getting out of CA comparatively, it's difficult because the passing percentage is less. So I think it's either or either, but looking at the passing percentage of getting out and making a career, I think CA is more difficult as a competitive exam. Medicine takes more years, more persistence, and then I think getting into PG becomes more difficult. Yeah.
So, talking about NEET versus NEET PG, and I'm not coining it as next yet. So, at what level? Because when you're have to get into NEET, you're writing the exam at 16, 17, and the competition is a lot more higher. I think 17, 18 lakh students write at that point. Even it could be more. So, is it a difficult exam at that level, or the UG level, or at PG level, where I think there are more number of seats related to NEET UG? NEET PG has better chance of cracking given the ratio of number of people who write it and who clear it. So, what do you think is more?
NEET PG is definitely more difficult than NEET UG because the number of seats for PG students are less and the number of people getting into specialty are less.
Okay. So, Ravi, coming to the same point, with when it comes to IIT, you have to either crack the exam or not, right? So, you have a small window of opportunity to crack the exam within 1 to 2 years. Whereas something like CA, it's spread across 4 5 years once you enter. So, as an individual with the same capability, route one or route two, what is more difficult?
first of all, thinking in terms of difficulty is not a good way to approach things. It's like you have to first see, is it necessary to be done? If it's necessary to be done, you have to do it. Simple. There, that's the end of the question. If you don't think like you'll unnecessarily get into which is easier because circumstances will change. Like let's say IITs and CAs and all these things will lose value after some time. Like for instance, so what are we going to do? So it's that's first thing is that's not a good way to like approach things. But if you look at it from a different point of view, like let's say the intellectual complexity involved in CA, It is largely 11th, 12th standard level of intellectual complexity. It may have a lot of subjects and all that stuff, but I don't think it is like for instance, so we had this discussions before, right? When we categorize the subjects in complexity, you have what um, mathematics, algebra, then you have calculus, and then you have quantum mechanics and fluid chemistry, fluid mechanics. So this will be slightly under calculus. It won't even be at the level of calculus. So it is that is intellectual complexity. But there are other things, like for instance, you have to remember a lot of stuff, which is not the case with like JEE. The amount of things you have to remember, yeah, when they're like memorable. So the number of disparate things that you have to remember, which are disjointed, that's what makes memory hard, right? That is higher, I feel, in CA.
Now, coming to the necessity based question, see, from a different perspective, none of them needs to be done. But when you look at an average Indian parent or a family, they always look into this question: is it important? Is it doable? So, because for a kid who is in the range of 10th, 11th, 12th, when they're open, see, if somebody wants to be definitely a doctor or actor or whatever it is, when it's definitive, there is no debate. But when they're indifferent, the classic question of math versus bio, doctor versus engineer, that route opens up. So, the object of the discussion is to help a family who is reasonably neutral and they want to bet in one of these careers, let's say medicine, CA, or getting into IIT or one of the premium engineering colleges. So, if you look at it as a purely practical question than something which you are passionate about. When passion comes into the picture, difficulty level would not matter. Or when there is a clear cut need or object to, let's say, a family of doctors, third generation doctor, fourth, you just get in. Otherwise, you will support it with your money. So when you're looking at a neutral perspective, how should somebody decide? That is a whole aspect because you're advising at which stream. So, for somebody who is neutral, who is reasonably intelligent, who is reasonably hardworking, let's say at 10th, should he be putting in the next 2 years of his effort into cracking an entrance exam, which is like one time cracking and then you get some freedom and flexibility over the 4 5 years at IIT? Or when it comes to CA, it's spread across. You can figure out things. How do you build your career?
See, when you start thinking about it that way, there are many things come into play, right? One is your inclination. For instance, if you really like physics, you will not choose CA anyway. Like you will not that thought won't ever enter into your mind, right? Um, Second thing is, yeah, if you are from a business background or that you have a family business and stuff, again, you'll be naturally inclined towards CA. And you know, I I do not know about doctors. I think you should ask her what inclines them about that. So that is one thing. And second thing is, what are the other things that you can consider? Mm, One is now, like for engineering specific. I'm not talking about IITs in general. Now there are proper, very good online courses. Like for instance, if I want to hire people, I would hire a like online BTech degree student from IIT over like any other regular college.
Yes, I understand.
Because the thing is, he has proven that he can self study and then get there. Right? That's a big. It's not yet commonly recognized, but that's a very big thing, right? Now again, CA. You can do CA and online BTech, but you have to start with somewhere. Start somewhere, right? One thing which is good about CA is it is much closer to the real world than BTech. That is something I find it very interesting because tax, everything is something that you deal with in the world. So engineering is very different. You learn fundamental principles. Yeah, so that's different. Um, Again, coming back to the choices at that point of time, one is like get into IITs or NITs. If not, if you're in that stream, one thing is 11th and 12th, make sure that you prepare for JEE. Doesn't matter if you're in this stream, because even if you want to do CA, it is better to do that because then do CA, because your CA will become like very easy. Doctor, I do not. That's easy.
I think, being very honest, people used to choose biology because maths used to be a weaker subject back then when I was choosing one. My heart always was saying, okay, biotech, okay, psychology, somewhere extreme, but not in any of the fields that we are talking about. I think the choice should be purely made on your aptitude, where a child's aptitude is. If your aptitude supports your choices, things become very smooth for your intellect also, and for you investing years into something, because now you have a purpose as well as the level of understanding you need to achieve something. So I personally feel that aptitude matters a lot.
How would somebody figure out their aptitude in that?
These days there are aptitude tests. Before, like previously, or even now, if you don't understand what aptitude is, please go explore different kind of courses. Even if you're doing CA, you should always know that what are you up to in CA. Like there are so many other subjects you can. People do BCom, people do finance, people pursue so many things around it, right? There should be something you should have your heart in. Some subject you should have your heart in. I think then only you can sustain a journey of 4 years or 5 years into something. Because if you don't put your heart into something and you come and do it just for the sake of doing the first three highest ranked degrees, it is going to be very difficult for you to navigate your journey through it, and then it is also going to be very mentally and emotionally expensive to get out of the train and come back. So, learning from my own mistakes, I really feel aptitude plays a very important role together with your IQ as well as your likings.
Can you bring some level of self-awareness in the aptitude side of it? Okay, you have tests. But there
Yeah,
should be some
so
level
so
of
basically the way, like example, we give personality test. There's an aptitude test which will test you on the basis of science, arts, maths. Not only that, but even they give you a test in which they check if you're good at agriculture, biotech, music, dance, whatever is your allied field. And with the way your quantitative or qualitative brain is better, divergent or convergent thinking is better. With all
it
these
gives you a
cognitive
reasonable idea.
skills, it gives you a very reasonable idea to where is your brain heading.
Right.
And then because we as Indians know only 2 to 3 streams,
Fair.
and then once we see our friends doing other things around, we come to know, but it's way too late, or maybe we have options. Yeah, we've lost time. So I personally feel all the parents, even coming from the family of CAs, doctors, businessmen, you should always go for an aptitude test. You should always allow the kid to explore options and then get into something. It really makes your journey easier. And it gives purposeful individuals, working as professionals later.
Now coming on to the final aspect of this, this is fine. So basically, you've experienced how people study here. So when we say the blueprint is based on three core pillars, like we are creating personalized schedules based on all these aspects. So we'll do a status assessment, root cause analysis, the learning process modification, all of that. So the insight is no shoe will fit everyone. You need to create a personalized schedule, because when you look at schedule, it's a combination of time and task. So it should be dependent on where you are. So this is the first intervention which you're talking about. The second thing is implementation. For implementation, you need to have a very intensive ecosystem. So unless you have an intensive study environment, you cannot implement the plan which is given to you. And the third one is improvement. So constantly you have to focus on getting better, which includes some level of testing and improvement mechanism. So if this ecosystem is, because in CA time and again it got proven, if this ecosystem is made available to doctors, do you think they can also clear that exam? What is your take on that?
I think we already have this ecosystem. The difference is the time we enter our first year of medicine, or the time we enter our 11th and 12th preparation, we have these, but in a very group study form. Okay, personalized, I think now people like quota aliens and all used to start a very personalized one, but even that became a group thing. So, yeah, if something like this is there for medicine, it will definitely work, but a little difficult to implement, because as doctors, we are always on the go, seeing the emergencies. We have to go to hospitals every day, and that is where our learning comes from. mostly. We are first in the field and then in the books.
So for PG, the practical exposure is far more important in exam. For UG level, because
For UG level, I think biology labs, going to college for 11th and 12th, attending PCB is a mandate for doing
yes.
it. So again, that part is always going to be there.
Yes.
College is an integral part for 11th and 12th, and where you're doing B, PE, and C, so physics and chem are going to come from the experts of the engineering side. So integrating all these three together
Yes.
is going to be like a challenge. So the system that we have is more college based, and that's why bifocal courses, college integrating with coaching classes came into picture for us.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, this little bit challenging will be getting into a setup like this for that.
Nice. So what about IIT? So let's say now the context which I wanted to give to her is, let's say coaching is done, your preparation is done. Somebody studying at home versus somebody studying in an environment like this. How do you think it will impact the chance of clearing IIT? Given like that segment, coaching is done. Let's say 6 months before.
Actually, if you need this level of personalization, you will not clear IIT. The reason is because it is too competitive in the sense that about another 70,000 or maybe 80,000 people who are not coming into IITs, they can do very well in IIT. Okay, that is not the case. There's an advantage with CA there because if you get to the bar that they need, it works. Now the thing is, if you have these problems that needs to be fixed and the subject itself is very hard, that is the reason why, I mean, though it's funny, I mean, I make jokes, right? For 4-year degree, you guys are preparing for 4-5 years. They start from 8th standard, 9th standard. I mean, it's a 4-year degree, you're preparing for 5 years. What is that nonsense? But I've spoken to people who are doing it, who are doing well, but they're like, that's the game. So what? So that it is useful, but the thing is, it's like, you're already telling me the probability is less. Otherwise, if they have like maybe one little change and then the personal issue got fixed, those guys will have an opportunity.
The diagnostics.
It should be like a couple of things and then they figure it out and it'll work. But the thing is, otherwise, even if everything is good, it's always probabilistic there.
Yes.
And you won't get too many attempts.
So many good doctors. The problem is that all the doctors are doing good, studying well. The problem comes with that 5 seats or 4 seats getting into the hospital, and it can be by 1 mark or 2 marks. So yeah, I think the systems that are placed for medicine, I don't know, for medicine is based on practical exposure only. You answer more questions attending those practicals, I feel. So yeah.
So we got some interesting insights about all the three professions or career options in terms of the exam. Yes, because I was constantly checking this, the applicability of this blueprint. So fundamentally, it evolved here because the biggest advantage with CA is it's not a competitive exam. There is a benchmark. Your cutoff. Your cutoff is 150 or 300. So the competition has very little role to undermine your abilities. Yes, you get back-to-back attempts in a year. So that's why this particular blueprint which you're talking about is quite suited for this, and this is where we are starting. When it has to move to medicine or IIT, I think the personalization, which we are talking about, the first step, where you come, understand the diagnostics, and then probably can fix your thing, is what it is. So yes, and I especially thank both of you for being an integral part in creation of this, because for a lot of students to clear CA, an IIT and a doctor are helping us. So that is something which is working well. I hope you got a good context of today's conversation. And thank you, Ravi, for your time. Thank you, Mansi, for your time. Signing off from Him Life School. Thank you.